The NBA can be so thrilling, right? The scoring section is the most exciting part of the game. Teams and players in today's NBA league score higher than ever before. With league scoring growing each season, you'd think the single-game record for most points would be recent, but we'll see how true that holds. Without further ado, let's dive into the top 10 highest-scoring NBA games ever. Starting off at number 10, we have the Phoenix Suns versus the Denver Nuggets in 1990. Nobody expected the game to be talked about after all these years, but it must have been a cracker to watch live. The iconic match took place on November 10th, 1990, and accumulated a total of 316 points over the course of the game. The Suns won the fixture, with the final score being 173 to 143. The 1990 Suns were a one-of-a-kind team. They had a decent squad at their disposal, and things would be all in place for Charles Barkley to come in soon. However, in this 20-point crushing defeat of the Nuggets, 5 Phoenix players scored 20 points or more. Cedric Ceballos led the Suns in scoring, with 32 points off the bench. Throughout the 1980s and 1990s, Denver's offense was prolific, but their lack of defense was on display here. But we're not complaining, because it contributed to a thriller with the Suns, coming out by a margin of 30 points. Next up at number 9, we have the Cincinnati Royals versus the San Diego Rockets in 1970. In yet another nail-biting game, this time back in 1970, viewers watched the game in high anticipation. Much like our previous entry, the game rounded up to 316 points in the end. The San Diego Rockets were defeated by the Cincinnati Royals, with each team scoring 151 and 165 respectively. Oscar Robertson and Russell Westbrook are undoubtedly the undisputed kings of triple-doubles, as they are the only two major players to average the statistic throughout the season. In the 9th highest-scoring NBA game ever, Robertson recorded a 30-point triple-double against the Rockets in March 1970. The Royals were coached by the renowned legend Bob Cousy, and were led by Tom Van Arsdale, who scored 36 points and had 9 rebounds. Connie Deerking and Johnny Green also played a big hand in the team's victory. Moving right along, at number 8, we have the Philadelphia Warriors versus the New York Knicks in 1962. Taking place in Hershey, Pennsylvania, this game is one that fans still recall to this day. The match took place on March 2nd, 1962, and just like our previous entries, this game also racked up a total of 316 points. The Philadelphia Warriors made history when they defeated the New York Knicks, with the team scoring 169 and 147 points respectively. If you imagined the NBA wasn't filled with action in the 1960s, you were dead wrong. This game between the Philadelphia Warriors and the New York Knicks was the 8th highest scoring game in NBA history, and clearly super fun to watch too. This game is still regarded as one of the most significant in NBA history. This is dubbed the 100-point game by fans. Credits can go to Wilt Chamberlain, who set an NBA record by scoring 100 points alone for the Warriors. This is an accomplishment that will almost certainly never be repeated. Next in line at number 7, we have the Washington Wizards versus the Houston Rockets in 2019. This recent game took place on October 30th, 2019, and totaled 317 points. In the final of the 2019 World Series, Houston Rockets defeated the Washington Wizards with just 1 point, with both teams scoring 159 and 158 points respectively. We saw James Harden go on an absolute tear, dropping 30-plus points per game almost every night, but he was playing on a different level altogether this night, as he dropped 59. Russell Westbrook also joined the party, finishing with a triple-double of 17, 12, and 10, while Bradley Beal's 46 points were impressive for the Wizards, but couldn't win them the game just because of 1 point. 6 other teammates of Beal pitched with double figures. Despite scoring 140 points per 100 possessions, the Wizards remain only the second team in history to lose after doing that. Harden's free throws with 2.4 seconds left in the game gave Houston a victory to remember. Moving forward at number 6, we have the New Jersey Nets versus the Phoenix Suns in 2006. Anyone who saw this game knows what a roller coaster it was. The game took place on December 7th and gathered a total of 318 points. The Phoenix Suns walked out victorious over the New Jersey Nets, with the team scoring 161 and 157 points respectively, and that too in double overtime. The Suns and Nets grouped for the 6th highest scoring game in NBA history on a December night in 2006. What's most surprising about this entry on the list is that the 2000s were notorious for their low scores. This game wasn't one of those though, ending in a double overtime thriller, with the Suns narrowly defeating the Nets. It featured Hall of Famers Steve Nash and Jason Kidd. Nash finished with 42 points and 13 assists for a double-double. His late-game three-pointer sent the game into overtime. Kidd finished the game with 38 points, 14 rebounds, and 14 assists. Aside from Nash and Kidd, 11 other players scored in double figures. We're halfway through our list. Now for the top 5 highest-scoring games in NBA history. Moving on, at number 5, we have the Denver Nuggets versus the San Antonio Spurs in 1984. Yet another game with the Denver Nuggets made it on the list. This iconic game took place on January 11th, 1984, and garnered a total of 318 points. The San Antonio Spurs won over the Denver Nuggets, with the team scoring 163 and 155 points respectively. There was always something special about the Denver Nuggets offense in the 1980s that worked, which is why they made the top 5 of this list twice. Kiki Vanderwerge scored 50 points for the Nuggets against the Spurs in 1984, and George Gervin added 38. Only 6 of the 20 players did not reach double figures that day, despite shooting 54.5% from the field. The Spurs defeated the Nuggets. Each team would score 318 points, making this the 5th highest-scoring NBA game ever. The San Antonio Spurs-Denver Nuggets game was historic because it became the NBA's highest-scoring regulation game at the time. Next, at number 4, we have the Denver Nuggets versus the Golden State Warriors in 1990. This game was truly a masterpiece to watch. The Nuggets versus Warriors game took place on the 2nd of November, 1990. It ended up accumulating a total of 320 points. The Golden State Warriors won the game outscoring the Nuggets 162 to 158 respectively. The Nuggets began the 1990-91 NBA season with a game against the Warriors Run TMC. The Warriors defeated the Nuggets in a high-scoring close game. Tim Hardaway had 32 points and 18 assists, while Chris Mullin scored 38. Mitch Richmond chipped in with 29 points. Orlando Woodridge led the way with 37 points, while Walter Davis got in with 33. Rod Higgins won the match with 2 free throws after Denver missed 2 crucial shots in the final minute. It's not that surprising that this game was so high-scoring, because the Warriors didn't play much defense during the Run TMC era. We're finally at the top 3 games. Let's move along. At number 3, we have the Atlanta Hawks versus the Chicago Bulls in 2019. It was simply fireworks in Trae Young's rookie year when the Chicago Bulls and Atlanta Hawks got to meet. The game took place on March 1st, 2019, and totaled a whopping 329 points. The Chicago Bulls famously defeated the Atlanta Hawks, with both the teams scoring 168 and 161 points respectively, and in quadruple overtime. Only 14 games in NBA history have progressed into 4 overtime. Fortunately, the game between the Bulls and the Hawks was one of them. Zach LaVine led the Bulls with 49 points, just missing a triple-double. Otto Porter Jr. and Lauri Markkanen both had 31-point double-doubles. 6 Hawks scored in double figures, together with Trae Young chiming in with 46 points, 16 assists, the first starter since Michael Jordan to do so. With 2.2 seconds remaining, Young's step-back 3 gave Atlanta a 124 to 121 lead. Porter Jr.'s 3 free throws, however, forced overtime with the Bulls getting the last laugh. Next up at number 2, we have the San Antonio Spurs versus the Milwaukee Bucks in 1982. Taking place on March 6, 1982, this one racked up a massive 337 points, which was the highest at the time. The Milwaukee Bucks lost to the San Antonio Spurs, with both teams collecting a total of 166 and 171 points respectively, and this too in triple overtime. George "Iceman" Gervin led the match in scoring with 50 points. The Spurs scored 171 points, despite only attempting 1 3-pointer all game. Brian Winters got 42 points, and Junior Bridgman scored 31. For the Spurs, Gervin and Mitchell combined for 95 buckets on 64% shooting. Despite Winters' efforts, the Bucks were defeated in triple overtime by the Spurs. And finally, for the highest-scoring NBA game, at number 1, we have the Denver Nuggets versus the Detroit Pistons in 1983. This game is legendary, and rightfully so. It took place on December 13th, 1983, and gathered a total of 370 points. The Detroit Pistons defeated the Denver Nuggets, with both teams scoring 186 and 184 points respectively in triple overtime. The infamous bad boys of the 1980s, Detroit Pistons played in the highest-scoring game in NBA history. The Pistons won 2 NBA championships under Isaiah Thomas' leadership. On the night, Kiki Vanderwerge of the Denver Nuggets led the game in scoring with 51 points in triple overtime. Alex English scored 47 points in 50 minutes of action alongside Vanderwerge. With 47 points, Isaiah Thomas led the offensive-minded Pistons. John Long led the team with 41 points. Overall, 4 players scored 40 points or more, and this game will be remembered as the highest-scoring game in NBA history. That's a wrap for this video. Which one of these games would you wish to have watched in real time? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.